Hello and welcome to Face Off here on France 24. A couple of months ago, the Conservatives held a primary to designate their presidential candidate. And an outsider, François Fillon, won handily. This week, the left is in turn voting to choose its presidential hopeful. And the favorite after the first round last Sunday, Benoit Hamon, is a man who was clearly not on the radar screen just a few weeks ago. This means that except for the far-right leader Marine Le Pen, all the favorites to win this April's elections are out of contention. The current president, François Hollande, who gave up on his re-election bid in the face of abysmal ratings, his predecessor Nicolas Sarkozy, and the clear favorite for months, Alain Juppé, who were ousted in the Conservative primary. So we have a very unusual election season upon us. With me to comment, Philippe Turl from Radio France Internationale and Jean-Marc Gonin with the Figaro magazine. So Sunday night, former Education Minister Benoit Hamon pulled off a major upset by gathering the most votes in round one of the primary of the left, edging out the outgoing Prime Minister Manuel Valls. And it's difficult to see how he could lose the decisive round two this coming Sunday.
Elation among supporters of Benoit Hamon, who swept to first place in the left-wing primary's first round on Sunday. The former education minister said his victory was a sign that French voters are ready for political change. He also warned that to win the election, the Socialist Party would have to unite behind a strong political roadmap.
The Socialist Party has absolutely no chance of winning this election if it doesn't have a political project that carries a strong vision to face a hard right-wing party and a dangerous far-right party. I've said it before, I want to be the one that carries that political agenda that brings social and environmental issues together. It won't be one without the other.
Among 7 candidates, the real contest was seen as being among 3 former ministers under François Hollande. Hamon won 36% of the vote, and coming second place with 31% was former Prime Minister Manuel Valls. In the approach to next Sunday's runoff, he presented voters with a stark choice.
From now on, there is a clear choice to make, my fellow citizens. The choice between certain defeat and a possible victory. The choice between impossible and unaffordable promises and a credible left that can take responsibility for the country.
Coming in third place and eliminated after Sunday's vote was former Economy Minister Arnaud Montebourg, who was once synonymous with the Made in France campaign he launched to try to stimulate the French economy. On Sunday, he called on voters to support Benoit Hamon.
Next Sunday, I will vote for Benoit Hamon, and I invite you to do the same.
Manuel Valls and Benoit Hamon face off in the final round of the primary next Sunday.
Jean-Marc Gonin, in interviews every day on radio and television, Manuel Valls and Benoit Hamon have been going at each other, and there's going to be a debate this week between them, and it's going to be quite brutal because essentially those are two opposite poles within the Socialist Party.
Yes, in the very beginning, those two men have worked in the same government. But as soon as Benoit Hamon left government, he was an education minister, he's been one of the most vocal critics of Prime Minister Valls and of President Hollande. And he is transformed into a real hardliner, criticizing the so-called realistic policies they were implementing for the country and wanting to have a more radical line that is more leftist, and hearing his proposals during that primary campaign, as Manuel Valls was saying, he was proposing very unaffordable measures like a revenue of 800 to 1,000 euros a month for every Frenchman. That would mean 300 billion euros to finance, which is absolutely impossible. So Valls is saying that, but Valls has the heritage of the legacy of a government that is very unpopular, and he has a personality that is also very unpopular. So those men are really bound to clash heavily.
Right, they're bound to clash, but Benoit Hamon is bound to win. Essentially, if you do the math, because he got the support of third-placed Arnaud Montebourg, and clearly there's an anti-Valls, maybe anti-Hollande feeling among those 1.6 million who went to vote. Not a huge figure, obviously, but nevertheless, there is a really rejection, and that makes his task nearly impossible for the next Sunday.
Well, a lot of people have said, poor Manuel Valls, he was expecting probably to come first in the first round. Wasn't sure if he was going to win in the second round. He hasn't even come first in the first round. So, as you said, he has this almost impossible task now of trying to forge enough support to win against Benoit Hamon. Benoit Hamon came first. He has the support of Arnaud Montebourg. So with 36 plus 17, that's a lot more than the 31 of Manuel Valls, with only the 2% that he's received so far from another candidate, Sylvia Pinel. So he's losing before we get to the second round vote on Sunday. So I think that Manuel Valls will not win. And also another reason he will not win, as you say, which is correct, is that he is in a very difficult position because he's trying to be the new candidate to propose something different. But at the same time, he's having to defend what he was in charge of, his government under François Hollande over the past 3 or 4 years in France. So it's very difficult to say, well, we did what we had to do, but I'm going to do something different, contradicting the measures that he already was behind when he was Prime Minister. So it's a very tricky situation for Manuel Valls, and that means that he's, I think, going to find it very, very, very difficult on Sunday to beat Benoit Hamon.
Right. What also could be very difficult is for the party to unite behind the winner. They all pledged they would do so, but there's a clear difference. I mean, Benoit Hamon is described as a kind of mix between Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn by some, and Manuel Valls as someone who's very much to the right, even some would say to the far right of the Socialist Party. I mean, is there a risk that the party will implode?
Definitely. Might already have imploded last Sunday night, because the support Benoit Hamon gathered means, a bit like in Britain, you were mentioning Corbyn, that the tradition of a socialist party that is able to manage government, to rule the country for a while, you think the voters have chosen more a line of radical line that is a bit sort of dream left, that can't have a majority within the nation to win. And a lot of people say in Britain, Corbyn will never be at 10 Downing Street. I would say Hamon will never be in charge of government in this country. That is, there's a part of the electorate that doesn't want that. But I think that now the rift between those two will be very hardly to mend, those two lines.
Right. While you answer, Philip, we're just going to watch a poll about the general election because so people understand the stakes. Clearly, if you put all the candidates, the socialist candidate, whoever it will be, either Manuel Valls or Benoit Hamon, comes in 5th position. The two key slots, the two first ones, are for Marine Le Pen and the conservative candidate François Fillon, and the socialist comes only in 3rd position. So some are saying it's actually not a primary to designate a presidential candidate, but a primary to designate the future leader of the party.
Okay, 3 things. First thing is it's a duel between two completely different people. And if you look at the two characters, you've got Manuel Valls, who appears strict, very straight, very tense, someone who is unfriendly, and that is very negative as far as an image is concerned for a presidential candidate. Benoit Hamon is younger, more open-minded, I think is perceived as a more friendly candidate than Manuel Valls, and that is helping him in the opinion polls as far as his victory is concerned. Next is probable victory concerned on Sunday. Second point is Benoit Hamon says, and I think quite justly so, to come back to what Jean-Marc was saying, is we're in a situation now where people are wanting to dream about something. Manuel Valls is not proposing anything you can really dream about. He's proposing a continuation of the policies that he was in charge of under François Hollande. François Hollande is at the complete bottom of the opinion polls, which explains why he's not running. So do people really want to continue with the same policies that he's having to defend because he was in charge of them? Or do they want to dream about legalising cannabis, about only working 32 hours a week, about the fact that they're all going to have a wage for everybody, even if they're not working? Something to dream about. And that's what Benoit Hamon is proposing, even though he probably will never be able to introduce that as some of his measures. And third point is that it's very interesting now to ask, well, when that election takes place on Sunday and we have the candidate, probably Benoit Hamon, will he continue right up until the presidential election as the candidate, or will he decide to throw his hat in the ring and say, well, I'm not going to run in the presidential elections, I'm going to throw my weight behind the man who probably might win, and that is Emmanuel Macron, who's an independent candidate but a former minister under François Hollande. So those are three aspects which have got to be taken into account when considering this situation.
Is this a possibility quickly that the socialists, and this would be a historical first, will decide basically to pull out of the race and throw its support either behind Emmanuel Macron or maybe also towards the far left, Jean-Luc Mélenchon? Is this a real possibility, or does this mean that they will stay and all of them will lose?
No, it is indeed a possibility. I mean, already before the first round, there was a discussion among the socialists that they might throw their weight behind a better placed candidate. So that is, and Macron is a rising star in the polls. So they might as well support Macron. I doubt Hamon would do that,
right? Because
they are really way apart. But there's a possibility that no socialist candidate runs for president this year.
Okay, we'll have to see, first of all, what happens this coming Sunday. We'll bring it to you live here on France 24, and we'll debate it next week here on Face Off.